morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Our subject matter this morning, let's go back to a subject that was very much in the news, still is in the news, but it's simmering. It's not exactly on a vigorous boil. We're talking about the closure of Nigeria's land borders. Let's revisit that for a while. Because where it is now, and by the way, let me start off by telling you that my guest this morning is Alhaji Haman Bello Ahmed. Alhaji Haman Bello Ahmed is a former Customs Comptroller General. He retired back in 2009, and since then, Alhaji has gone on to other things, but his knowledge base and perhaps his first love is customs. In fact, he's a customs consultant. But in between, he's a mega farmer with hundreds of hectares of Fadama rice production. But there will be another day we'll probably talk about your agricultural interests. but today we want to tap into your customs knowledge. As I said, you were the head of customs and retired in 2009. So the whole matter of the closure of Nigeria's land borders must be something that you're very sort of engaged with. Now, the way it stands now is that a committee has been set up and to try and find a way out of this debacle for our neighbors within ECOWAS. And when I say the debacle, that's because Nigeria has said that the borders will remain closed. But Nigeria is also a member of ECOWAS, and so it's party to efforts. And it seems that there must be proposals to the mutual satisfaction of Nigeria and all those countries that will be putting together these proposals. Because you're a customs consultant, I imagine that we'll be getting some knowledge. But first of all, help me out a bit. What exactly is a customs consultant? How is one a customs consultant? Who do you consult for?
Thank you very much for having me in this program. And I think this is my second time of being here. A customs consultant is one that deals with the matters of customs, import, export, and excise trade. That is a customs consultant. You must have the knowledge of what the custom is all about. And that is collection and generation of revenue, prevention and suppression of smuggling, and collection of excise duties. But today in Nigeria, we have only 3 excise factories that pay excise duty. But by law, every factory that is set up in this country must pay excise duty. But for now, it's only 3. Breweries, that is alcoholic beverage, cigarettes, and perfumery.
Just those 3?
These are the only 3. But by law, every factory in this country is supposed to pay excise duty. But during the regime of Shonikan, who was the president of MAN, he de-excised all the others and left only these 3. So my duty, or as a consultant, I advise people on one, how to make an import, because every year there is a fiscal policy on importation and exportation. So I advise them how to go about import and exportation of their products. And secondly, where they have a problem in the payment of duty, both import and excise, we advise them. If, for example, a demand notice is given by the customs on an importation, on classification of a product, if demand is not satisfied and he comes to us, we will look at it.
Okay.
If it is in order, we advise him go and pay.
You talked about demand notice, and
Yes.
Sometimes it's shortened to an acronym of DN. It's
Yes.
not debit note.
It's not a debit. In fact,
demand
you
notice.
see why I came to this program. I was watching in one of your programs. One of the ladies, the reporter, said the customs said they raised debit notes into millions of naira. Customs don't issue debit note. They don't keep money for anybody. It's banks that issue debit notes. What the custom issues is demand notice. And in the demand notice, you will be given 30 days within which you respond, whether you agree to it or not. If you don't agree, you protest. If you look at the fiscal policy that introduced the destination inspection, it is stated very clearly why you are given a demand notice in respect of either value or classification. If you are not satisfied, you protest to the custom. If the report of the custom, you are not satisfied, you protest to the Minister of Finance, who is the chairperson of the board. If you are not satisfied, you write to the WCO, the World Custom Organization. If they give you an opinion and you are not satisfied, the fiscal policy say go to court, and the court will give the final verdict.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Elijah, for that brief, outline of aspects of consultancy. Now, coming back to the meat, Nigeria's land borders are closed, remain closed. Nigeria is not adverse to reopening those borders, but as I said in my very, very brief intro, this will only be as a consequence of proposals being brought forward that, as I said, I didn't want to make it sound like it's just Nigeria. It'll have to be of mutual benefit to those countries and Nigeria. What is militating against this?
Let me first state clearly that I am 100% in support of the closure of Nigeria's borders. Why? Because the other member countries defaulted and are not adhering to the ECOWAS protocol, and goods are brought into Nigeria and dumped.
So all of this, which is what government has already explained to us, and those who know can see, was at Nigeria's expense and at their benefit and gain.
Yes, yes.
But as the situation now is, there have been a lot of cries that we're hurting, business is hurting, not just from our neighbors, but also Nigerians. Now, you've been making some proposals perhaps to help, those other custom regimes to find their way to what indeed might be a bit more palatable to Nigeria, right?
Yeah. Let me give you a brief history of the setting up of ECOWAS. Late President Truman of Liberia, initiated it, started it, but it failed. But during the regime of Gawan, it was Gawan that was able to sign that agreement in Lagos and set up this ECOWAS Commission. And the idea is to allow goods originating from the sub-region to move freely within the ECOWAS sub-region. Secondly, goods that attain 35% value addition could also become origin of that one and could move freely. But what was happening is that goods will be imported from the third-party country outside the ECOWAS and claim that it attained the 35% value addition, and then it moves into Nigeria.
How are those? Are they fraudulent claims? How are those?
They are fraudulent claims.
How are those rebagging? Just you do something to it and say that we'll put 35% value on it.
You see, when I was in office, I was in charge of the investigation as the Assistant Controller General in charge of investigation. We had an issue of this tomato paste from Cote d'Ivoire, claiming that it is made from Cote d'Ivoire. We sent officers to go and survey, investigate, and see what actually was happening there. What they do is that they will import this tomato paste
in bulk.
Not in bulk. If you import it in bulk and you package it, add some chemicals or whatever, and you package it, then it attains the 35% value addition, then it becomes origin of West Africa.
Okay.
But they will bring this thing already packaged and then move them into Nigeria, claiming that it is from Cote d'Ivoire. And that brought problem between the customs and the the Cote d'Ivoire customs. So we had to go and carry out investigation. And see.
So that's one instance.
That is one
Another instance is rice has been complained about, that I think I've heard the authorities say that lo and behold, we actually don't need to import rice as much as people would have thought. You
see, what is happening is that most of these Francophone countries, they don't eat parboiled rice. They don't eat. But Benin is, I think, the third world largest importer of parboiled rice.
That and they don't eat themselves.
Yeah, they don't eat. And they find their way into into Nigeria. You see, if you go there, you will see bonded warehouses along the borders. There is this policy of establishing a bonded warehouse. If you have a bonded warehouse today, you can import anything. into that bonded warehouse without payment of duty. But by the time you come to pay the duty, then you make a declaration to the custom. Look, I want to pay my duty and release this to custom territory. Then they allow you. You pay the duty. But if you want to bring it out and goes to a neighboring country and claim that it's transit, then you don't pay. And that's how they do it. You see, the transit code of the custom state the procedure for transit. Any importation into a country must be declared. Once you make that declaration that is for transit, then they will now send what is called an advanced transit advisory note from C-150, and they will send it to the custom administration of the country that the goods will go. Then they now release the goods under escort and release it to the custom of the importing country. Then they will issue what is called landing certificate, which will be sent back to the country of importation. And then they will use this landing certificate and close it, and close the manifest. That is the procedure. But they don't follow it. They don't follow this landing procedure. And it's one of the things that I put in the proposal, that we must harmonize our codes. We must harmonize our codes. Once we harmonize these codes, what happens in Benin is what is happening in Nigeria. Already, we have the harmonized tariff. The rate of duty in Benin is the same rate of duty in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. We have also harmonized the passport. We carry ECOWAS passport. And very soon, we will go to the ECOWAS, because they are expecting maybe by April, we will start using the ECO currency. So if that is done, I advise that we have to, one, harmonize our laws. Two, harmonize the regulations that guide the custom in their day-to-day activities, that is the courts. Three, we establish a single window system, whereby when a declaration is made in Benin, for example, the Nigerian custom will be able to know what is happening.
Which is not the case as
Which
we
is
are
not
now.
the case.
Now,
then another thing is that we have to harmonize the import prohibition. We have import prohibition, there are two: trade and other than trade. We have to harmonize those one. We also have to harmonize our export prohibition. What is banned in Nigeria should be banned in the rest of the 14 member countries. It should be banned. Once they do it, then if it is stated that rice should not come into our territory, Benin will say, no, we don't have enough rice to eat, we have to, fine, agreed. Let us agree, we put it under restriction, that you cannot import rice until you have a permit from either the Minister of Trade or from the custom.
Now, I think therein perhaps is where it's going to get a bit difficult, since there are all these countries where we just said we're all brother African countries, but we will have different interests, we'll have different focuses, different economic policies. How easy do you think it is to harmonize? Because when we were speaking off air, you had said there's a sense in which some African countries are not quote unquote serious.
If the political will is there, it's very easy. Today, all the custom administration of over 200 countries are under the World Custom Organization. The same tariff. And that's why it is called harmonized nomenclature, harmonized tariff.
That is to say, there's a guideline that every country's custom subscribes to.
Yeah, every 5 years, the World Custom Organization review the tariff and release it out. And every country must
play by that
tariff.
Okay.
Yes, they have to. Mm-hmm. So if the whole world could come together with a single tariff, if the European Union, the Gulf state, will come up with a single custom territory,
so
why should it not be not in ECOWAS?
Why can't ECOWAS?
Yes, why can ECOWAS not do it?
But that's the question. That probably is the question, because you started by saying that this goes back to General Gowon, the first, back in the day.
I think the initiative is already there. It has already been said during the African meeting of African heads of state in Addis Ababa.
That the president went to recently.
Yes, the president went.
Yeah, on the sidelines of that.
On the sideline of that, a committee was set up, headed by the president of Burkina Faso, to look into the problems why Nigeria closed its border. How can we solve this problem? And we move forward. So that committee is at work now. Because after they came back, the chairman of the committee, the president of Burkina Faso, came to Nigeria, visited our president, had one-on-one discussion with him. So we expect this committee now to come up with something to the acceptance of Nigeria and other member countries. And that's why I wrote this proposal.
Okay.
And send it to the president. If you want to achieve this custom,
the chairman of that particular committee, who happens to be the president of Burkina Faso.
In the Burkina Faso embassy in Abuja. I submitted it there, the proposal. I gave a copy to the ECOWAS secretariat. I gave a copy to the Minister of Finance. I gave a copy to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I gave a copy to the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service.
Now, what do the proposals say that is not under the on the radar right now of our thinking as to how to go about this problem? Because those people, as you said, you are doing your own little bit public service, if you will, about, look,
I'm just contributing as a Nigerian.
I'm contributing as a Nigerian because this is a problem. It's a problem not really for Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria, but Nigeria is saying we're closing our borders until people shape up. Let us put it in straight language.
They have closed the border.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you have to abide
thank you.
by the ECOWAS protocol.
Now, how fast can they do that? And what part does corruption play in all of this? Because maybe fairly or unfairly, customs and corruption, the C and C, I don't know why they sometimes measure those two C's together. Is this something of a problem?
Why do you always accuse custom of corruption?
I didn't actually directly do so.
But when I say you, I don't mean you in particular.
But why has it become something of a cliche? You know, because people think, again, rightly or wrongly, that it's such a lucrative. We go back to stories.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
They say import a car, and the age of that car should not be more than 15 years. If it is more than 15 years, it's bad. You go and break a vehicle of 20 years, and you say it's 13 years or 10 years. Now the custom looks at it. The problem we are facing today is that the Nigeria Customs Service are not enforcing compliance with their regulations. That's the main problem we are having.
Is that indiscipline or corruption, or both?
Well, I don't know how you say it. I cannot say whether it is that. But my own reason is, or what I think, they need capacity building. They are not trained.
Does that mean training?
Training. They need training. Because if you know the rules and regulation of the customs, because as an officer, whatever you do, you'll be responsible.
Yes.
That one they don't know. Some of them were trained only 4 months. Police today trains 2 years.
Yes. Was that the situation when you were Comptroller General by the time you left in 2009?
I saw that problem. And when I was there, I initiated a training program in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, and in Kano. And I visited all these areas. Every officer must go back to training college. You must know what is the rules and regulation of the customs. That one I did.
But this is so fundamental, so very basic, that I'm a bit surprised that you say this is still an issue. And you've just said that police are trained for 2 years.
Police are trained for 2 years. There are even some custom officers that were not even trained, and they were given uniform and said, go.
So this is a problem. When you were saying some countries in Africa were not serious, is part of why we ended where we are. How serious can we have been? You know, I was talking about the 2 C's, unethical C's of customs, you know. This is a problem, because if people don't know their onions, if they don't know their job, which is an allegation that you are making of our own customs, then they're not going to be able to be efficient.
Definitely there is a need for urgent training of the custom officers. From the rank of controller down.
Okay.
Yes.
When do you think this was realized? I'll say you left office in 2009.
I realized this before even coming to office as the Comptroller General.
That we don't really know what we're doing.
You see, what happened during the regime of, I think, Babangida, a lot of people were transferred into the Customs Service at the managerial level.
Okay.
Without giving them the adequate training they need.
Okay. Okay. So they just had the uniform, they didn't have the knowledge.
They don't have the knowledge. Today, a custom officer will stop you on the road. Let me see your papers for your vehicle. He looks at the papers and says, this is fake. He will collect the vehicle and ask you to go. Can a policeman catch a thief and collect the stolen goods and ask him to go?
Now,
No.
you're explaining a very bad situation, and I wonder, when you cast your eye on the customs of today, or the customs of recent times, is it much better? I mean, can it be as bad still as you are describing, hopefully, in the
As
past?
far as I'm concerned, it is still, but
It is still,
yes,
there's
yes,
still a lot
yes.
more that can
You
be
see,
done.
Let me give you this thing.
Sure.
I saw a program on the television. You had a reporter was saying that the custom raised debit notes into millions of naira.
What does that mean exactly?
I don't know. And that's how I called you, Mr. Lukman. I said, give me the telephone number of that lady.
Okay. So
Let me talk to her. Where did she get the debit note? Custom don't keep money for anybody.
okay, but that might have been a slip of tongue or whatever.
It's not a slip of tongue. A lot of them, this is what they say, debit note.
Well,
It's not a debit note, it's a
and
demand
that's
notice.
coming from a mix-up of the abbreviation to DN. You're saying it is demand notice, not
It's a
debit
demand notice,
note.
yes.
Yeah,
When
so-
somebody, you see, when somebody...
But you're pointing to the fact that we don't seem to know what we're doing in this whole custom field to the best of our ability.
I think so.
In terms of knowing your onions, what customs jurisdictions around the world are known, to be sharp?
The custom jurisdiction. Well, I can't tell you of other countries.
Okay.
But the World Custom Organization.
But okay,
The World Custom Organization.
because you're painting a pretty dismal picture
we need
of
training.
us.
We need capacity building of our officers.
In Africa,
If
are
we
there
want
better
things-
customs regimes than our own? Are there other regimes
Yes,
that are better than us? Because you've made
Yes,
it that.
take for example, I think Senegal. Senegal had, when I was there, had a representative in the World Custom Organization.
Okay.
Yes.
Nigeria has not achieved
Nigeria
that.
has not. We have representatives who stays there.
Okay.
But to hold a position in the structure of the WOC, we don't have. WCO, I mean, we don't have. Yes.
So what efforts are in place or ongoing to address this grievous problem? For instance, the existing setup in customs, where we have Colonel Ali, he's the head now. You just said that, as far as you're concerned, the situation of less than the required training still obtains. Did I get you right?
They need training. Well, what I'm saying, they need training. They need training not only on how to value, classify goods, no, on custom procedures. We have about 14 codes, custom codes that we have. And these codes deals with instructions on how the custom will go about in their day-to-day activities.
Yes.
Now, these codes are no more used. They are no more used. In fact, I have been looking for this 44 codes still.
Have you approached the existing Nigerian Customs Service?
It's not there. I have sent to officers. In fact, some of them that I got from officers that retired, they have these things. What the service needs to do is to update these codes to date. For example, today, if they give you a demand notice that you are going to pay maybe 100,000 naira.
Yes.
The law says if it is a compromised DN, that is, it is an error. But if it is intentional, it's a fraud, you don't give demand notice, you seize the goods. So if it is an error, and they realize it is an error, they give you a demand notice, pay additional duty. When you pay, they give you a penalty of 25% of that value, up to a maximum of 600 naira. That's, if you see the detention and seizure code, it's there very clearly, up to a maximum of 600 naira. But today, they give you DN, 25% of the 100, and you pay.
So how much of this, you see, here we go back, how much of this is actually not knowing what to do and being a victim of poor training, and how much of it is actual manipulating the system?
Not
knowing
poor
it
training.
and
The
then
training is not even
manipulating
there.
it. Huh?
Not poor training. It's not there.
It is non-existent.
Yeah, it's not there. They don't do it. They don't train their officers. They don't. We don't have trained officers in the customs today. Very few of them, maybe 2-3% of the officers that knows what they are doing.
But this is a very, very grievous charge that you are making.
It is, and I have said it several times. And every forum I get, I talk about the capacity building of the customs officer. Look, if you have been attending the customs sees this, customs sees this, customs sees this, isn't it? Even this you are reporter, when I saw that they were showing what they have seized, every day they will show. As you are reporter, anytime asked to see the defendant, those they arrested for that goods. Have they? They should ask. Let us interview. EFCC arrest today. They will parade this thing. Police arrest. They will parade and they will interview them. Have you ever seen in this your report that they paraded the smugglers?
And why do you think that is the case?
They don't.
Why do you think there's this omission that you are pointing out?
We have a legal department where when you seize, you arrest the owner of the goods.
Does that
obtain his statement, submit your case file to the legal department, and they will charge them to court.
That's right. Does that happen
and
often?
Let me tell you, Section 177 of the Custom Act, December, says custom case in any proceedings has priority any other proceeding in the court.
Okay.
It's there.
Again, is this well known enough? Is this well enough known? Because these things are pointing out. You say that, look, actually, what you've just said, it's a bit mind-boggling that you've saying that customs, by the law, can actually go to the head of the queue, to the front of the queue, maybe because of the urgency of
it deals with the economy.
Yeah, it deals with the economy
and the life of the nation. Yes.
So, but again, when people don't know these things, they're not able to apply them. Is that?
That is why this border has been closed, isn't it? For how many months now?
Yes. You mean the land borders,
yes.
Nigerian land borders? Yeah. Because
every day there is a schedule of smuggled goods. If you don't punish the offender, they'll continue.
They're just going to find another means.
Yes, so that this time you may be lucky to go through. So you need to train this officer, and the laws and regulations are made for people to obey. If you don't obey it, there is a penalty for it. So if you don't apply that penalty, then it's useless.
Okay, we've heard about this matter of impunity in our daily lives, various aspects of our lives. Now we're hearing that this is actually how it comes to customs. But what do you think of the charge that even as we remain closed and that is causing pains in certain quarters, it still isn't as effective as it could be? In other words, you've heard of the porosity of Nigerian borders. Is this again going back to customs? Not
the
being
border.
trained?
You have closed the border for a purpose.
Yes.
I have been contacted by millers. They need my rice, but it's not there. We need about 8 million metric tons of rice to feed this country. When we were kids, it's only during celebrations, naming ceremonies,
that's right,
marriages, that we eat rice. Today, whether you like it or not, every house in this country eats rice. We produce about...
It's become almost a staple.
3.5 million metric tons of rice. And our need is about 8 million metric tons. Why is the balance? You can see how desperate these smugglers are to bring in this rice. What is that so important on that? There is deficiency. Definitely there is a deficiency in that production of rice. If with the closure of the border, my advice to the government is to come up with a policy. How do we solve this problem of scarcity of rice in our country? Because the demand is there.
The demand is there.
Yes.
But it is also said that
Meanwhile, when the border is closed,
it was thought that we were turning our nose up at our rice, and that's part of the problem. We want parboiled our rice. We want imported rice. Our own rice, for some reason, it's like second choice.
The government has to look at this policy on importation of agricultural machineries and equipment. Today, you bring a tractor, you are paying duty. You bring a combined harvester, you are paying duty. All this, it used to be 0%, but the new fiscal policy introduced duty. While we are lacking it, why not make it 0%?
Okay, I'll go on a break now, and then we'll come back and we'll continue with this this quite interesting conversation. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll include your calls in the second half of the program. Welcome back. Still having a conversation with Alhaji H.B. Ahmed, Controller General of Customs, retired in 2009, and he's a customs consultant. And we've been talking matters customs and the difficulties with having a sort of a uniform custom regime. And we ended up with, we've looked into aspects of the closure of Nigeria's land borders, and he's been telling us about aspects of that and the efforts to come up with proposals that will indeed encourage Nigeria, those proposals being of mutual benefit to both Nigeria and our brother countries, to reopen the border. But until then, it's pretty much closed. And we got to the whole matter of agriculture and rice smuggling, for instance. And you were just telling us about, maybe you sort of wanted to correct some impressions that, look, it's not, you can't blame the Nigerian preference or choice for everything foreign. It's not that they're ignoring our own or abandoning our own, but I think you are going to give insights into why our own can't compete favorably. Am I right in that assumption?
Yes.
Why our own can't compete favorably? You're talking about farming implements
you
and
have,
duties.
You have a lot of rice mills today in the country, a lot.
Yes.
Everybody is now going rice mill.
Because
Yes.
of this
but
policy.
You see, the problem is that the mills that are being brought are of substandard quality. Substandard. Because once you mill that rice, there are various stages it has to go through in the milling process. From cleaning, dehusking, to milling itself, to polishing, to whitening. It goes through that process.
And you would know, because you told me before that you have hundreds of hectares of rice under cultivation. Yes. So you're involved, you know.
I'm involved. What I am doing is to produce seeds, quality seeds.
Okay.
For the Nigerian farmer.
Okay.
That's what we are doing.
Okay.
I'm not into milling.
Okay.
I'm not milling.
But you are knowledgeable about the process.
I know this thing. I have been to one factory, a new established milling factory in Yola. Inspected the place, look at it. And when I was going, they gave me a bag of rice. I took it to my wife, cook it. When she cooked it, she said it's not good. And you can see it. You can see, because maybe the quality of the color sorter they have is not of international standard. Because a color sorter removes every color that you have in a meal rice, so that you have pure white.
And the only reason, because Nigerians like the best of things.
Exactly.
So if you're telling me that we are actually ending up with substandard mills.
Substandard, the standard organization have to double their efforts. They have their agents in every country of the world. And they have their officers at the ports.
No, but I think it goes back to how affordable are those mills, because it's an irrelevancy right now. But Nigerians like the best. Nigerians, by inclination, will go for the best, unless they can't afford it.
Of the CBN, where they give loans at a single-digit interest. Why not they obtain this loan and bring the best? Why should the standard organization give a standard that if you want to import anything in this country, this is the standard, and it has to follow that standard? If not, it will be seized.
Okay, but we said that in a different way, in a different context, concerning vehicle importation, for instance. Yes. A car must not be older than
15 years.
15 years.
If it is more than 15 years, it's banned. You can't bring it into the
But
country.
these cars that are older than 15 years still come in, as we were talking about earlier. It depends on what
They
the
are
documents
being
say.
smuggled in. They
Uh-huh.
are being smuggled in. You have always been seeing it. Nobody will bring a complete rice mill through the land border. It has to come in a port. And everybody is there. Is it to that standard? Because we need the best.
So these are some of the pitfalls of,
These
of
are
what
some
we
of
do.
the pitfalls, yes. We need
So,
standard.
policy, you're saying that policy here
Yes.
is also, and this is what you were talking about, that we have to harmonize policy in so many different areas if any of this is going to work. And you've just pointed out how duties on agricultural implements, is what
It
is.
used to be 0%.
But now
But
that's not the
now
way it is.
I think it's 20% or 10%.
So this puts a
I
further
think
strain.
it's about 5% now.
So this puts a further strain on agricultural
Yes,
producers.
yes.
And then they compromise.
Yeah.
And when they compromise,
let me also bring one thing. The customs which are not doing the right thing. The Central Bank of Nigeria came up with 41 items which they say they cannot sell forex to import. If you want to import, you have to source your own GST. Now, out of these 41 items, they say glassware. What is glassware? The whole of chapter 70, it means glassware. They say plastic and rubber
glassware,
products.
okay.
Yes, plastic and rubber products. Chapter 39 and chapter 40 of the tariff. The whole thing there. And you have difficulty when you want to import this thing with your own money. You have difficulties. The custom ought to have asked them, tell us specific of items that should not come.
not just
general.
not for example,
Yes. If
glassware.
yes, yes.
And glassware
Yes,
can cover a
it's
whole
general-
universe.
a whole universe. There are some
What's
glassware that
specific?
are used in the laboratory for investigations.
Yeah.
And you say it cannot come. How do we go forward?
But okay, in the midst of all of this, maybe not optimum efficiency, custom is still saying what? Something like we've brought revenue, we've generated revenue in the region of 1.35 trillion
Yes.
naira.
Yes.
So they're doing great.
You see it as great because I don't see it as great.
Okay.
Yes. What was the collection of DICO in 2014? 977 billion naira. With the exchange rate of 197 naira to a dollar. Divide it. How much will you get in terms of dollar? It's about $5 billion. The 2014 collection was 1.01 trillion naira. What was the exchange rate? 306. Divide it. What will you get? It's about $2.5 billion.
But
The rate of exchange, now today, the rate of exchange for purposes of custom duty is 326 naira to a dollar.
okay.
So the collection would have been about 3 or 4 trillion naira. Yes, they have done well.
Because I was going to say the impression is that it's much better than it used to be before this custom regime.
Yes, it was better. Because the exchange rate, with the increase in the exchange rate from 197 to a dollar to 306 to a dollar, the collection would have been about 3 to 4 trillion naira.
Okay, so you're saying that the number, the numerical, the number might have gone up, but when you look at the value,
Nothing to write home about.
nothing to write home about.
Yes. Yes.
So in terms of
There
generating,
is a need for proper
training.
no, not training, verification of the imports.
Okay.
Verification of
Well,
the imports.
there's aspect of training in that too, because
Yes.
verification, efficient verification. You've given me the impression, and if I didn't misunderstand you, that the training, if it were much higher, then
if-
all of these
you
things
see-
would have been much better.
You see, a lot of people are talking that no scanners,
Yes.
and it's delaying importation, it's delaying clearance of goods, and they blame custom for it. You don't blame custom. Who brings in scanner? Look at section 84 of the SEMA. Look at section 13 of the SEMA. Look at section 18 of the SEMA. 13 deals with port, 84 deals with terminal bonded warehouses, 18 deal with the airports. And it says that it is the responsibility of the administrator of the ports to bring in tools for examination, for storage, for positioning, for everything of imported goods. Not the responsibility of the custom. It is the responsibility of the terminal operators to build offices for the custom service to their own satisfaction. It's them. So for you as custom buy scanner, every container that passes through a scanner, the terminal operator charge it. Can government buy it for them to charge? Because they charge the importer. They are agents of importer. So they charge. So it is the duty, if the concessionaires, for example, I have been having serious complaint that they don't have equipment to handle the imports that we have in the country. There are some containers that have been in that terminal for 10 years. So if they are not fit, let them go. Let the NPA take over.
So in terms of actual revenue generation for government by our customs service, how do you rate us right now, the efficiency with which we are able to do that?
Well, with what you have told me, I would say they are trying.
With what I
Yes, what you have told me.
And
yes.
here I am asking the questions here. Well, you've just said that anybody talking about 1.35 trillion, oh, it sounds great. But you also said, you criticized by saying that, well, to you it sounds great. But you've just explained to us
what
that,
of the leakages?
Then thank you, sir. That's where I was going.
Let me tell you. The ex-Senate set up a committee to look at revenue leakages from 2007 to 2017. What did they get in their report? They say 30 trillion naira leaked.
30 trillion
yes,
naira.
Between 2007 and 2017.
And
what does
leakages mean? How did those revenues?
This money was supposed to be paid into the government revenue, into government coffers. It has not. It went down the drain. That is one. Two, there is this presidential committee.
Down the drain,
yes,
as in wastages.
Wastages.
Not corruption, not lost to corruption. Wastages.
Well,
okay.
I don't know, whatever you think.
But sure.
Yes, there is wastages, leakages. There is a committee, the Presidential Committee on Trade Malpractice. In their own report, they said the revenue that goes down the drain can finance 75% of Nigeria's annual budget. This is a presidential committee. It goes down the drain.
What do you mean by it goes down the drain? Does this go back to things that you have explained?
That money is supposed to have gone into the government coffers.
Where did it go?
But it didn't find its way there.
So where did it go?
I don't know.
Well, okay, that is answer. That is answer enough. You know.
The committee, the Trade Malpractice Committee, they are under the presidency.
The Trade Malpractice Committee.
Yes. They, in their own report.
Yes, they say
the leakages that occurs in import and export business can finance 75% of Nigeria's annual budget.
So we come back to what you said much earlier on, in fact, in the first half of the program, which is that we need a more highly trained and finely tuned customs service.
Exactly. They should embark on a massive training of their officers. They should. On a massive training of their officers, so that they know. Custom is the oldest institution in this country. 1891. Why are we today? They look at you as a night watchman. Today, custom will seize an item, like for example, arms and ammunition. They will seize and say, no, this is not our work. We are handing over to the police. The man that imports these arms,
where is he?
did not put in his declaration that he is importing arms. The man that imports tramadol will not put I'm importing tramadol. He will give another description, and that is false declaration. And if you give false declaration, Section 47 of the SEMA says you should go to court for 5 years without the option of the fine, and the goods will be forfeited to custom. Why should you hand over the seizure of your arms, of your drugs, of this to other agencies of government, while it is your own duty? That anybody that gives you false declaration will go to jail. Why not prosecute him for that? And if you prosecute him, the goods will be forfeited to the customs. Yes. For example, the arms, if you want, you carry arms, you can convert it for your own use, or you distribute it to other agencies of government that carry arms.
So it's going back to not knowing exactly, and this is a function of training that has led us to where we
are today.
Okay, but I want to go back, in the moments we have left, to the border closure and how the objective before our ECOWAS brothers is to come up with proposals.
Our ECOWAS brothers must first agree we have a common custom law. The law that works in Nigeria is the same law that will work there. Our brothers should agree that we should have a common import and export prohibition list. What is banned in Nigeria should be banned in all other countries of the ECOWAS. Our brothers should agree that transit goods must adhere to the transit code, in which you must make a declaration. In the first instance, you must indicate in your manifest it that is for transit, and make a declaration, for example, with the Coast of Cotonou, that these goods are going to this thing. Then, when they make this declaration, they should send advance transit note to the importing country. They should send it, and then once the goods lands there, they should send landing certificate to the Benin Custom and close the record. So they have to adhere to that one. And I would also recommend they should have a single window platform for the whole ECOWAS countries, so that whatever declaration that is made will be known to each of the member states.
When you say a single window platform, is that the same as what you said, that whatever the tariff is in Nigeria is what will be in Mali?
No, this is already there. What I mean is that the platform where you make your declaration, for example, today you make your declaration in Apapa, Tinkal will know what you have.
Okay.
Kano will know what you have. Port Harcourt will be able to know. So let us have this flat.
We don't have that.
We don't have it for the whole of ECOWAS. Let us have that one. Let us establish that single window platform.
Can this be done? Can this be done without without the input of technology?
It's there. The technology is already there.
So what then is the
problem?
Who
will do it for you?
The technology exists.
It exists. Single window clearance system is introduced by the World Trade Organization, WTO. They are the people that introduce it, and a number of countries are using it today.
But when it comes to African countries, you're saying that we are not all, as it were.
Ghana is using it today.
But other people apart from Ghana?
There are some other countries that are using.
Is Nigeria using?
Nigeria is using. So we have the nicest.
So where if anywhere at all, is
let
the
them harmonize it all and have one for all the 15 member countries.
Okay. The countries that you said are using, there might be slight variations. You say we need it to be one uniform
custom administration or territory, where goods and services can move freely without hindrance. For the persons, it's immigration. I don't want to deal into that.
Let me just say to our viewers that by now, of course, you would have been phoning in. We are having some challenges. If not, you would have been able to call in the past 20 minutes or so. It happens from time to time. Maybe it's not just in customs that you have the glitches. Sometimes you can have glitches anywhere else. So sorry about that. If it were possible, you'd be calling in by now. So
the other thing that I want government to know, or what they complain in closure of the border, that they are smuggling Nigeria's products to our neighboring countries. What the government needs to do here,
particularly our fuel, for instance.
Yes, our petroleum products. Petroleum products. Yes. What the government needs to do here, this fuel or this petroleum product is drilled in Nigeria. So the origin of West Africa. It's supposed to have moved freely within the sub-region. But because our refineries are all closed down, we have to carry this crude oil outside for them to refine. And when they refine it, it attains 35% value addition outside. So it becomes the origin of that country where they do it. So Nigeria should revive its own refineries, refine its products. If they refine it here.
But you know that the work is at an advanced stage on that. We are hearing via the Dangote refinery that is in the works that will actually be supplying the rest of Africa.
We are refining this crude oil in Nigeria. Then it becomes the origin of West Africa. And by ECOWAS protocol, it's supposed to move freely within the sub-region. Nigeria will be able to expand its market to its neighbors. That is one. Secondly, if they don't want to do that one, and they want to assist our brothers, because they have to, they still depend on this smuggled goods into their territory. If they want to do one, let them remove the subsidy the policy of the subsidy on petroleum products. The president promised he would have removed the subsidy when they come to power. But still they are doing it. If they want, let them remove it. But if they do that one, Nigerians will have to pay more on petroleum products. But our sister countries will be able to enjoy it.
So these are, in short, well, there's a sense in which other people now who are not really related have had a benefit or an insight into what exactly customs consultancy is all about. These are the issues where we try to find our way to being where we should be, which is not where we are at the moment. The whole political will business, the whole political will aspect,
is the political will. If they are determined to make this, harmonize all these things, the custom procedures, if they have that political will, they do it, then we will become a true custom union.
But as of now, we are not a true uniform customs union.
If we had been, Nigeria wouldn't have closed its borders. Okay. They are abusing the ECOWAS protocol, our neighbors.
And that Nigeria is not going to accept that. And it's up to them.
To me, if they refuse to agree on this, Nigeria should get out of ECOWAS.
That's pretty drastic.
Honestly.
But because...
because we cannot continue be subsidizing citizens of other countries. Because these petroleum products find their way. Especially those that are not even with ECOWAS, like Cameroon and Chad. They are not within ECOWAS countries. Well, and they smuggle these things.
Well, thank you very much, Alhaji Haman Bello Ahmed, customs consultant, former controller of customs. Thank you very much for coming on the program and, giving us perspectives on this whole matter and helping us understand the challenges of border closure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed, that's our program today. So sorry again about the phone not working today. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I imagine there would have been so many questions that would have been brought into studio. Join us tomorrow, please, for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.